According to sources close to the Hollywood scene, Tom Cruise was said to have grown noticeably uneasy ever since Pedro Pascal's momentum in the industry became impossible to ignore, with insiders whispering that Cruise seemed to be brooding over Pascal's rapid ascent and the constant admiration he received, a level of praise that had made Cruise's own competitive instincts flare up. RadarOnline.com reported that Cruise had started to view the 50-year-old Pascal as a genuine rival, and it was said the veteran actor privately disapproved of many of Pascal's choices, considering them to fall short of the big-screen standards Cruise had always championed. One confidant described how the 61-year-old Mission Impossible star had become increasingly irritated whenever the subject of Pascal came up, especially as the industry began calling Pascal Hollywood's daddy, and showered him with affection for his high-profile roles in both film and television. The sting of comparison hit even harder this year, with Pascal's name attached to anticipated projects like Materialists, Eddington, and Fantastic Four: First Steps, each new announcement becoming another trigger for Cruise's simmering insecurity. A source explained that despite being in his early 60s, Tom had no intention of stepping away from the spotlight, emphasizing that his ambition still burned as fiercely as it did decades ago, though he had mellowed in some areas and even managed to reconcile with Brad Pitt after years of distance. But when it came to Pedro Pascal, irritation ran deeper and was more persistent. One insider bluntly stated that Pascal was the competitor who now truly unsettled Cruise, and another industry voice elaborated that Cruise's unease was closely tied to his firmly held beliefs about what defined a true movie star. To Cruise, real icons belonged on the big screen, not television, and he had little respect for bouncing between mediums, yet Pascal's career had been built on precisely that versatility. While Cruise regarded the ability to fill theaters as the ultimate mark of stardom and took that pursuit with unwavering seriousness, those close to him revealed that he felt a growing lack of respect for Pascal's trajectory. At the same time, those anxieties extended beyond the professional realm into Cruise's personal world, particularly as rumors swirled about a possible romance with Ana de Armas. During an outing in Vermont, Cruise was seen looking energetic and fit beside the 37-year-old actress, but friends revealed that beneath his athletic exterior, Cruise carried a burden that gnawed at his confidence. They confided that his chest appeared to show a certain unwanted prominence, a detail that weighed more heavily on his self-image than anything else. According to sources, Cruise had become determined to confront what he privately called a persistent nuisance, and in his mind, surgery had emerged as the only realistic solution. Specialists discussed options like liposuction, direct excision, or a combination of both to address the issue. A confidant insisted that the only aspect bothering Cruise was his chest, and he was intent on correcting it without delay. As conversation about his private concerns continued to circulate, friends reiterated that although he often presented himself as full of vitality, Cruise remained highly conscious of those insecurities. Others disclosed that his worries intensified whenever new headlines celebrated Pascal's achievements. Industry observers agreed that the rivalry between Cruise and Pascal was intensifying rather than fading, and every new project Pascal landed seemed to push Cruise into deeper contemplation about his own place in Hollywood. Subscribe for more updates. One insider noted that people around Cruise observed his resolve had not weakened but actually grown stronger as he constantly measured his career against Pascal's. The competitive streak that had driven him for decades was still alive, only now it was tinged with unease. Colleagues admitted that such comparisons were common in Hollywood, but rarely did they carry such a personal edge. Another source pointed out that Cruise often brought up Pascal in conversation, making the topic nearly unavoidable as Pascal's rise continued to dominate studio discussions. Insiders suggested that Cruise scrutinized every move Pascal made, analyzing his successes and choices with the same intensity he once reserved for his own roles. The recurring whispers created an atmosphere where the rivalry became something of an open secret, and it didn't help that Pascal's ability to shift effortlessly between genres and platforms drew admiration from audiences who found his versatility refreshing, sharply contrasting with Cruise's steadfast dedication to blockbuster films. The difference in their philosophies only sharpened the tension, and while Cruise projected unshakable confidence in public, confidants admitted he often revisited the subject in private, unable to escape the thought that Pascal's approach, though at odds with his own, was still winning attention and acclaim. Subscribe now, Further stories revealed that even in informal settings Cruise struggled to keep from making remarks hinting at his frustration. Acquaintances said that while he retained his trademark charm, his tone changed noticeably whenever Pascal's name came up. Observers remarked that these patterns painted a portrait of an actor who was proud and restless, someone unwilling to yield ground but troubled by the rise of a younger peer. As the weeks went by, the accounts multiplied, reinforcing the belief that this rivalry was not just a rumor but a real and persistent undercurrent in both their careers. Many insiders described the mood as tense whenever Cruise and Pascal were mentioned together, and speculation persisted that Cruise, for all his success and acclaim, remained locked in a silent competition with Pascal, a competition that spanned the big screen and his own reflection in the mirror. Subscribed for the latest stories. Those around Cruise said his drive had not diminished. In fact, it had only intensified as he watched Pascal's career continue to soar, and he frequently compared his own path with that of his younger counterpart. The competitive spirit that had propelled him to the heights of Hollywood stardom was still there, but now it came with a sense of urgency. Colleagues remarked that such rivalries were part of the fabric of Hollywood, yet rarely did they cut so close to the core. Another observer noted that Cruise could not seem to avoid the subject, as Pascal's name was on everyone's lips and his projects were the talk of the industry. Insiders revealed that Cruise analyzed every development in Pascal's career, dissecting his choices and successes with the same meticulous focus he had always brought to his own work. The constant chatter created an atmosphere where the rivalry became impossible to ignore, and it was clear that Pascal's versatility and willingness to embrace both film and television had struck a nerve with Cruise, whose own career had been built on blockbuster films and the relentless pursuit of box office dominance. The difference in their approaches only heightened the tension, and while Cruise maintained a confident front in public, those closest to him knew he struggled to reconcile his own values with the changing landscape of the industry. Subscribed for more. As the stories continued to circulate, acquaintances reported that Cruise had difficulty masking his irritation, even in casual conversation, and his tone would shift whenever Pascal's latest success was mentioned. Observers noted that this pattern revealed an actor who was both fiercely proud and deeply unsettled, someone who was unwilling to concede ground but unable to ignore the rise of a formidable new rival. As the months passed, the reports multiplied, each reinforcing the idea that the rivalry was real and ongoing. Many in Hollywood described the atmosphere as tense whenever the two names were mentioned together, and speculation persisted that Cruise, despite all his achievements, remained locked in a quiet yet intense competition with Pascal, stretching from the silver screen to the private moments of reflection that came at the end of the day. Those closest to him knew he struggled to reconcile his own values with the changing landscape of the industry. Subscribed for more. As the stories continued to circulate, acquaintances reported that Cruise had difficulty masking his irritation, even in casual conversation, and his tone would shift whenever Pascal's latest success was mentioned. Observers noted that this pattern revealed an actor who was both fiercely proud and deeply unsettled, someone who was unwilling to concede ground but unable to ignore the rise of a formidable new rival. As the months passed, the reports multiplied, each reinforcing the idea that the rivalry was real and ongoing. Many in Hollywood described the atmosphere as tense whenever the two names were mentioned together, and speculation persisted that Cruise, despite all his achievements, remained locked in a quiet yet intense competition with Pascal, stretching from the silver screen to the private moments of reflection that came at the end of the day.